Hello there, I'm Ruth Sherman, and I am so excited to be here with Marcia Davies, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Mortgage Bankers Association. MBA represents the entire real estate finance industry, which I don't have to tell viewers forms a huge part of our economy and touches millions of people. MBA not only advocates for its members at the public policy level and provides a wide array of educational programs and tools to keep its members up to speed on everything they need to know, which is how I came to know Marcia and the organization. So I want to say thanks, Marcia, for accepting my invitation and for making the time to be here.
Thanks, Ruth, for having me. I always enjoy our conversations, and today is a first. It's our first virtual video together.
You're absolutely right. So what took us so long?
Exactly.
So Marcia, how has the pandemic affected MBA?
It has really had an impact not only on our organization, but on our members. If you think about it, our members provide mortgage finance for a variety of businesses as well as consumers. So on the residential side, think of any family that wants to buy a home or refinance a home. And on the commercial multifamily side, those who own apartment buildings and finance things in our communities, such as strip malls, hotels, et cetera. So we saw the first initial impact when the Fed eased very early on. If you remember, either late February or early March, the Fed eased and rates really dropped. And it meant for people who may have bought a home as recent as a year, 18 months ago, or even refinanced their home back then, that these lower rates made sense for them to either refinance again, or perhaps some people decided it was a good time to get in and buy their home. And what happened was there was this surge, a tremendous surge in volume, overwhelmingly so. So in the very beginning, that's what we were dealing with. And then literally just a week or two later, as this virus and the impact of it made things even more dire and severe, right? People started being forced to stay home. Businesses started closing. We had orders where non-essential businesses could not have their employees working. And so think about what happened last week when we saw the unemployment rates there. It's impacting such a large segment of the population who have been regularly used to their paychecks, and now they have either reduced income or no income. So I find myself fortunate. I happen to work for an organization and one that is essential, and I am getting my paycheck, and that is really, really, for me, I'm blessed, and I can still make my mortgage payment. We tell people, if you can still make your payment, please do so, because the people who service those loans need to be helping those who really cannot make their payments. So there's been this overwhelming volume of borrowers calling in to the servicing side of their lender saying, I can't make my payment. What are my choices? Or I may not be able to make my payment next month. What do I do? And so there's been this overwhelming volume of consumer calls coming in. And just like a lot of businesses, they also have constraints on the number of bodies they have to answer those calls. And they're doing the best they can, but it's had this tremendous impact to our members. And we are doing as much as we can to help them to clear any hurdles they have coming on the policy side. So we're working inside the Beltway to try to make sure that regulators and legislators understand what needs to be done in order to keep this mortgage finance engine running, and making sure we're serving not only on the commercial multifamily side, that segment of the market and their needs, but on the residential side, the needs of American families.
Yeah, so the end user, the borrower, some people like me, and you'll be interested to know I had just refinanced my mortgage early March, so right before this all hit. So I feel very fortunate, and I see what's going on now with all of the information coming forward, that how MBA is advocating for its members, but of course that filters down to people like me who are the borrowers. And right? How to deal with this incredible situation. Yeah. Okay. So I have a second question for you is what are you seeing in terms of the business, in terms of the people, really, both with your members And you mentioned a little bit about that earlier, but also with your employees. And is there anything that's surprised you?
Well, the first thing that has surprised me is just how relentless it is right now. Their amount of work and the amount of requests that come in, it's nonstop. And so I think we all knew it would be a busy time, but given the fact that we've never encountered anything like this. And so we are one segment of the market, but as you mentioned in your intro, a very important segment of the market, and it really affects the economy. And so every time we think we've cleared a hurdle or a stumbling block, there's another one, or there's one coming that you didn't know was going to be a downstream, unintended consequence. So it's just the amount of issues. What surprised me, it's been really, really, they just keep coming and coming. What I see at not only MBA, but with our member companies, the spirit of cooperation and collaboration. We all know that we will solve this if we work together. We have to be flexible. We have to listen and hear what all of the issues are and listen to concerns on the other side. If we propose a solution, really understand if there are concerns about what we're proposing and work together to try to make sure that we clear these hurdles and that we move forward and we can get through this together. But it is going to be, several months. As we heard from the president just a few nights ago, this is going to go on longer than originally thought. And so we just don't know when the end is near. So I think we all need to continue to collaborate as well as listen to one another so we can move forward.
Yeah, it's hard to plan for the future in a situation like this, right?
So true.
Impossible.
Yes,
Impossible.
it is impossible.
It's
Yes.
impossible. Yeah. I have time for one final question, Marcia, and that is, what is one piece of advice that you can share that of something that has worked for you as you work with your members, as you work with your workforce, that you think would work for other people?
It's going to sound simple, but it's when you're really busy and you're working around the clock, sometimes it is something we forget to do, and that is communicate. And I mean, not just communicate, over communicate. We really need, I know our members appreciate, we are having calls with them 3 times a week. Our employees, we're sending not only regular communications, but a weekly communication from our CEO on what is happening and what they can expect. And we are also communicating with one another on a regular basis. And as I said, it's almost 24/7. It's weekends. We were having conference calls at 8:30 on a Sunday night with a whole host of work that followed that conference call. And you really just need to be able to communicate. And as I said, collaborate. And the other thing I would recommend is practice patience. And I know you always say it's one of the things that you struggle with, but I do think we all need to be patient because I think we're in uncharted territory. And so we don't know how it's affecting our colleagues and some of the folks that we're working with. So I think we have to be patient and we have to express ourselves and be open and honest with each other so that we can navigate through this as best as we can.
Yeah, I really appreciate both of those pieces of advice. The over communicating, I often say, or people will often ask me, it's like, well, is there such a thing as too much rehearsal? And I will say, no. People can over communicate, but not in these times. You can't do it in these times. In fact, one of the things I've noticed with my high level clients is that they've been putting out so many fires that they forget that the workforce needs them to lead, and leadership communication is so important. They may not know what's going on, and the information is power and makes people feel soothed. So that's a huge thing. Marcia, this has been so helpful, so informative. I want to say thank you again for being here and for sharing your insights. It was great to see you. Hope I get to see you soon. Hope you stay well.
Stay well, Ruth, and I too hope to see you in the very near future. Thank you again for having me.
My pleasure.